Hi, this is Roger, thanks for dropping by. We're doing a repot today that's a bit risky. It's risky because this particular plant doesn't like root disturbance, and in addition to that it's got large sections with no roots that should have roots. The reason it hasn't got roots on those sections is they've risen up above the media, and yes, there are two of them going in slightly different directions, which makes it even more of a problem. I have a potential answer, which is a bit of messing about, a bit of a bodge job. There's a reason for that, which I will go over. But anyway, first job is to carefully get it out of the pot and try not to disturb the roots. Any media that's hanging on the roots stays. We're not going to try and prise it off or anything. It's not that old, it can stay. But I need it out of the pot to be able to move it, so we'll come round here. Now you can see what we are getting at is my Coelogyne cristata. The problem is it's got a growth here that's extended. Now it's got a bulb here and a new growth and a bulb behind it, and there aren't any roots until you get back to here. And then it's the same on this extension here. This bulb here and this bulb here have no roots, and we've got a new growth on that extension as well. Now I'm hoping this is, I've just watered everything in here, but I didn't water this. I'm hoping it'll just gently lift out. There's very little sign of root growth on the older roots, but nonetheless there are some. So it's got some roots, but they're at the back end of the plant. Right, well, it's come out okay. As I've said, I've got no intention whatsoever of trying to remove all the old media. What falls off, falls off. And most of the media that's fallen off is at the top, where there are no roots. And herein lies the problem. There's just virtually no roots on this. If you look, I've got hold of the whole plant here. We have roots here under this tiny little bulb, and we have roots at the very back end. So all of these three bulbs have no roots, and these two bulbs have no roots. Nonetheless, we do have some roots. And that's all the disturbance they're going to get. So I said, this does smell a bit toasty. I'm just going to break off and go and see when I did last repot this to find out how old that media is. I'll be back. Right, it was potted in April 25, so it's only been in this pot a year, but I'm determined not to disturb these roots any more than I have to. But somehow or other we're going to have to try and get these rhizomes to form some roots. And the only way I can think to do it is to literally peg them down to some relatively fine media. And pegging them down involves probably wiring them. But first job, see, I was going to say the first job is to get rid of this back bulb here, but that's got roots attached to it, so I can't get rid of it. Otherwise we'd be left with the few roots on this little bulb here. That's just not enough. That's not enough to support the plant. Now I'm hoping we'll grow some new ones, but we haven't got them yet, so we can't go mad. Right, so that's all I'm going to do. I'm not going to take any more media off. I will get rid of this, keep some of this big stuff, we can use that, and then I will go over my idea, which may or may not work. Now, let me just get rid of this. Although it's not that old, I don't want to reuse old media. I'm going to go for smaller bark anyway this time round. So we'll just put that into the bag. Now I'll leave that down here for a minute and show you what I've got in mind. Now you notice I've got two of these. What I would ideally like is one of these, but this was the last one. I had a set of these, I believe 5. The others have gone to other people with plants in them. So I've lost them. I haven't got a clue where I got them from. So the idea is to try and make one. Now these are quite wide and relatively shallow, and they've got very good drainage. And what I plan to do is cut them and then staple the edges together to make a longer pot. But that's going to be fussy and not that easy. I'll come back when I've done it, if it works. Wish me luck. Okay, it's a bit of a bodge job, and the glue gun came into its own, but I think when the plant's in there with the bark it won't look quite so bad. But that's what I've done. I've basically joined 2 pots together and I've glue gunned the joints. The joints aren't watertight, they're not perfect. They're only going to have bark in them, aren't they? They don't, you know, it doesn't matter if there's slight leaks, it doesn't matter. There's leaks in the bottom, isn't there? And then I put a couple of pieces of wire through the holes so that it's there ready when the plant goes in. So let's get my tray back up and we'll go and get some media, and then we'll have a go at potting this up and positioning it in such a way that because I bet it don't fit in that drip tray anymore. I think I've got a bigger size than that, I think, just one. So that's what I've done, and that's the next best thing to having one of those larger pots, because basically this is a linear plant at the moment. A plant cristata with lots of energy will push out shoots in various places, not just at the front, not just on the front lead. It will actually push out shoots in all sorts of places, but they need to have that strength. They need to have a good root system and a good base to work on. Otherwise they get a little bit fragile, shall we say. Right, I'll get some media, I'll be back. Right, I've got some chunky stuff, larger bark, that can go in the bottom as a base. That'll give me good drainage, and being new it won't stay wet long, so it's not going to hold water down at the base of the plant. Now I don't want to put too much on, so I actually want this plant low in the pot. So now what we've got to do is try and position it back there, which is virtually putting it back in the pot it came out of. You see what I mean? My little bit of wire doesn't want to play ball, it's got all hooked up. It's not so bad. Yeah, so that's just sort of gone back where it was before, really. But what we're working on is these 2 front bits. Now they have no roots at the moment, so I don't want them sat on bark that's going to stay wet too long. So we'll put some more chunky stuff in to bring the level up. So that side's up enough. We've still got to worry about the gaps in the media where I took it out of the pot. And we'll just push some down the sides. As I said, I didn't disturb the roots that much at all, really. You just have a look. Yeah, we've got some gaps down there. Let's see if we can squeeze a bit down there, close up those gaps a bit. Otherwise the roots we've got won't work very well, and then it will shrivel. That's okay, happy with that. Right, now what I want to do is deal with everything from this bulb forward, which is all loose and floppy. And what I'm going to do is get a base for these two bits to sit on with large bark, and then I'm going to get my seedling bark for them to settle onto, and hopefully, because of that contact, it will encourage some roots to grow. If you think what we did in the one where I showed the, the very shallow basket that I said I only had one of, that's what we did with that one to encourage some roots to grow at the front end, and it did exactly that. Those roots did grow at the front end. Unfortunately, the disturbance at the back end didn't do it a lot of good. Never mind, you can't win them all. But, it's not dead or anything. But it's slowed up. Now you've got three choices with coelogynes. They take no notice of being repotted. They slow down for a while, or they sulk. And if they sulk, they can sulk for quite a long time. Sometimes years. And they are quite a nuisance when they decide to do that. Right, now my goal is to see that we've done all of that and the growth is still on the edge of the pot. This one's okay, this growth's inside, and I should be able to hold it there using my bit of wire. I'm just going to push that over there and push it down. I only need it to hold it, it's not, it's not going to do it, is it? Alternatives then. Stake. To hold that bulb upright. If I can hold this bulb upright, then the new growth won't be right on the edge of the something a bit sturdier than that. Something like that perhaps. That's better. So that that growth now has plenty of room to grow. As I say, the bit of wire didn't really do what I wanted it to, but never mind, never mind. Now let's see what we can do with this one, because this one's going to have to move. This one's going to have to come over here if it's going to have any chance of rooting whatsoever. And it's still going to be on the edge of the blinking pot. What can you do with these things? I'm going to drag the whole plant back a bit if I can. Well, if we get a good root system under this rhizome, then the very back end of the plant can come off. So it would sort of achieve its goal. I think we might have to do that one with a stake as well. Yeah, the wire didn't really do much. It was not exactly in a good place, but that piece will. That piece will go over that rhizome and push down, so that's got that. This piece over here, stake just isn't holding. That's the trouble with them. Trying to put stakes in bark, they just don't hold. Put that wire into a point and push it down, see if that will hold. Well, that held okay. Right, I think that's going to have to do. The new growth is a bit buried. Hopefully it'll push on. You can see the daylight. This bit, the rhizomes in contact, and it's in contact all across. So I think that's going to have to do. Another clip out of this piece of wire, just bend it round and push it in with some extra support. Right, that's sort of it. It's not very good, but as I said, if the old roots don't collapse and carry on working, then we should get some new roots at the front end on these rhizomes. Now they're actually touching the media. So as I said, I didn't water this when I came round doing everything else because I knew I was going to be potting it up. Is it going to fit in there? Yay, just jolly good. Could have a bit of luck. That's a bodge job. I'm not happy with it, but if I had one of those bigger baskets that I showed you, then I would have used that. But this is sort of the next best thing, and I just hope we get some roots. If we can get some roots at the front end, it will do well. If it goes to this time next year, what's going to happen is these new growths will progress, and if they don't grow roots, they will probably still flower, but then the plant's just going to collapse and get very, very weak because it's then done 2 flowerings with no decent root system except at the back end of the plant, which is not really where it's wanted. So we will work with that. I'll give it a good soak now, and now I need to go and have a sit down. Done all my watering today, and quite tiring to do it all at once like that. I watered everything except the cymbidiums and the peonies. Peonies only got done a couple of days ago, and because of the mix I used, they actually hold their water for some time, so they're not going to need loads of watering through the summer period. And the cymbidiums are due. They were due yesterday really. They'll get done tomorrow, and then we'll have a look and see if we can find one to repot. But yeah, that's all I'm doing with that apart from watering it and putting it back up on the shelf. Let's just cross everything, because this is a really nice cristata. It's a more unusual version of the standard species. I don't want to lose it. I don't think what I've done is going to lose it, but it may stall it. And if it stalls, then it's going to take another year to recover. So we'll have to wait and see. But cross everything, and we'll see how we go. Bye for now. Thanks for dropping by.